The following is a project of our nonprofit newsroom. Support Midcoast Morning and local journalism today at chly.ca/donate. Local news doesn't survive without local support.
Hello and welcome to Midcoast Morning. I'm Joe Pugh. On the 5th annual National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, hundreds gathered for a spirit walk in the Comox Valley. Marchers headed down 5th Street in Courtenay, ending at Lewis Park. Today on the program, we'll be bringing you reflections from some of those present about the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. First observed as a federal statutory holiday in 2021, the day honors survivors of residential schools and the children who never returned home from them, as well as family members and communities. It coincides with Orange Shirt Day, a tradition started by Phyllis Webstad in 2013. I attended the event in Courtenay, where I spoke with some of the organizers.
My name's Chris Sample. I'm with the Mikisew Métis Association. I'm one of the organizers or coordinators of the Spirit Walk today.
And this year you were telling me that you took on sort of for the first time the lead organizer role. Can you tell me what that has been like?
Well, last year the office coordinator had everything ready, and then she went to Spain, and so she went a few days before the Spirit Walk, so I kind of stepped in and on this day of the Spirit Walk. And then this year she took a new job, and so Colleen Devlin and Heather Greeley and Kim Dirksen and I formed a little committee, and we've done this together. And since they work, Colleen and I did a lot of the work. And so it's been what I want to take away from this, or what I am taking away from this experience, is how fabulous it's been and how kind people have been to us. The city of Courtenay, the operations part of the city of Courtenay, the Downtown Business Association. Oh man, so many people. And we culturally partnered, and here we are.
Can you give me an idea of what the concept behind the Spirit Walk is?
Okay, so today is National Truth and Reconciliation Day. September 30th is that day. And it's a day where we recognize and honor the survivors and families of people who were in residential school systems. And so this year we decided to do things differently, and instead of walking in small groups, we met at Harmston Park and we walked all together. And the city of Courtenay kindly let us get the road closed for the day, and so we all walked together. And it felt like a really good thing to be together with our orange shirts on and all of us walking together, a community walking shoulder to shoulder, showing that we support each other and we support everyone who's been through the residential school systems or their families.
This is now the 5th National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. What does this day come to mean maybe to you? How do you think about it?
Well, I don't know if it's the fifth Truth and Reconciliation Day, but it's our 5th day of having a Spirit Walk to honor that. And to me, Truth and Reconciliation means, one of the things it means, how we can work together as communities, live together as communities. And for myself, I see it as a day of education and educating people on who we are, what we do, how we got to be here, and how we can live together and work together.
On that education point, what do you feel are some of the main things you'd like there to be maybe more awareness of? Or when we talk about education around the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation Day, what do you think are some of the most important points?
Let's see. Well, I think that I'm going to talk about the Métis people because that's who I am. I think it's important that we go to schools and teach students. I think it's important that we educate our own community on our language, our culture, our family ways. I think that's really important. And for other people who are not Indigenous, I think it's an opportunity for them to learn about Indigenous people and to know that there are 3 distinct cultures: First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and those are things I think that are important.
So the walk has already happened. As we're sitting here, we're talking, we're listening to some music. There's a really big lineup for a Bannock tent over there. How are you feeling having kind of watched the big part unfold?
Well, the weather, first of all, every day I checked the weather. It looked like it was going to be raining. Yesterday it said it was going to rain 95%. The chance of rain was 95%, but it did rain, but not very much. And so really thankful for that. And as we were at Harmston Park, and as people were gathering, I felt kind of a swell in my heart that so many people come and support us and are interested in learning and interested in taking part in truth and reconciliation. And it gives us hope.
Chris Sample was one of the organizers of a spirit walk in the Comox Valley to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Helping out behind the scenes on Tuesday was Courtenay Mayor Bob Wells. Mayor Bob Wells, I understand you were the sound guy for today. Can you tell me how that came about?
Well, for the last 22 years that I've lived here in the Comox Valley, my background is fine arts, theater, in particular fine arts. I used to teach lighting and sound at UVic. And so I've got sound equipment. I've since sold my technology company quite a few years ago now. But whenever there's an event like the Spirit Walk, or I do things for Yana or Child Development Society, anywhere I can come in and help out. I live stream events as well. So that my son was here. Connor was helping do the live stream for this event as well. So those who can't make it can still watch it from home. So yeah, it's just our way to give back to the community.
Can you tell me a little bit about the city's end making this happen today? So a big chunk of 5th Street right downtown Courtenay was closed off. What did it take to make this come together on the city's end?
Well, Chris Semple from the Métis Society, Mickasaw Métis Society, her and I have talked for years. So, we talked about closing it down. In the past, we've just walked down the sidewalks. But the idea was this year to actually close down the streets. And then we also donated Lewis Park here. So, usually I think it's about a $3,500 fee for something like this. And we waive that just as our part as a city to work towards reconciliation. So, again, I think it's a small token for the city to be able to extend some of, I mean, as mayor, I'm just someone who gives speeches and cuts ribbons and stuff, but as a community member, to be able to help them with their sound system and help live stream things that I would do for other organizations, but as a city to step in and bring their weight to an event like this, again, blocking off 5th Street. We had, I've heard estimates up to 1,500 people here today. So, I mean, that's definitely a huge number of people, and we want to see those types of numbers coming out year after year. That's why, we have entertainment here. There's T-shirts, and I think somebody said Bannock. I don't know. So I think this is really just sort of really helping us go into the future, making these events even bigger.
And then as mayor, or as Bob Wells, as someone who makes speeches, it's 2025. It's since 2021, there have been events on this day for the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Yeah. What does that day mean to you?
Well, for me, I think one of the things, being someone who is somewhat political, and I was probably even more political when I was younger. So when I was 17, back in 1991, I went off to South Africa because of apartheid. And that was something that was a big issue in my life. But many years later, in 1996, I lived on reserve up in Fort St. James, and that's when I first found out about things like residential schools, which the last one was closed in 1996. And that was something that was never taught to me in school, never mentioned once. And that's just residential schools. That doesn't even get into the systemic racism on, jobs people could have, businesses they could own based on the fact of whether they are First Nations or not. So to me, it's about reconciling this, acknowledging it, and then doing our best to work with First Nations to move forward. And that to me is what this day is about. And I think that there's always an opportunity for everybody in any walk of life to be able to do what they can for reconciliation. And that's what I hope to do and continue to do as mayor and as a community member.
Mayor Bob Wells, thank you very much for taking the time.
My pleasure.
Courtenay Mayor Bob Wells. Tuesday at the city's Lewis Park. As part of an event to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, many lined up for Bannock. After things had wrapped up, I was able to speak with the person providing it.
I would say Gaelic Kesla Nugo I'm Pauline, so that means hello and welcome. My name is Pauline. I make an effort to make sure that I'm present and mindful when I'm doing this event. Being a granddaughter of residential school survivors, both my grandparents went, and I had a great uncle, Jasper Mitchell, who didn't get to come home. So I keep that in mind when I'm cooking, remembering my grandfather. He ran away from Cooper Island, and it took him 3 days to come home. So when I'm making bannock, I make sure that I'm using that within my heart. And then because Indigenous peoples have evolved ever since from the beginning. So I brought baked bannock with traditional flavors, herb, chili flake, pumpkin spice, cranberry ginger.
Is there anything you're able to share about what makes bannock bannock?
I think it's about the heart that you put into it. I'm not quite sure why it turns out this way. It's always magical to me, right? So traditionally, they would be using a root called camas, right? And it's a very labor-intensive item that Indigenous peoples used to farm. So having flour now, right, and having everything readily available. And I just have been working on it since I was 14. I'm rounding 50 now, so that's many years of trial and errors. Some work, some don't. So it's just feeling what my heart says when I'm tossing ingredients into the bowl.
There were a lot of people in line for bannock today. What was the experience for you like serving all those people?
Customer service and doing that kind of bartering trade system is Indigenous, right? And then being an Indigenous woman, we were always very good at doing those trades, right? I just connect through my culture. Enjoy seeing the delight in the faces when they eat into it, as well as seeing return people come, right? People that I know from the valley, and then they're just eager to say hello and participate in a wonderful event as this is.
So there was a bit of a barter system to it today?
Well, sometimes depending on what's going on, I toss in a couple extra, right? When you notice someone might need a little extra. Or if they can't decide, I'll just give them an extra one so that they can try all the flavors.
Is there anything you'd be willing to share about maybe like what the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation means or is all about to you?
Yeah, it's about my family, right? They chose to live life. If you haven't or nobody has looked into Cooper Island Residential School, I encourage you to do so and to listen to what those children had to endure. So Cooper Island, 40% of the students there for 30 years didn't make it. So that's four out of 10 kids that wouldn't come. So if you imagine Cooper Island, a small island off of Vancouver Island, the treatment that they had to endure to risk their life to swim the Stewart Channel, right? And to fight the Salish Sea waters. Right? What did they have to endure? Coming to sell bannock is nothing. Seeing the lineup of people smiling and right, seeing the people walking down, entering into Lewis Park, brought tears to my eyes because my grandparents didn't get to have that opportunity to see the change what we see today.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with people, or is there anything else you think it's important for people to know about what went on here or just the day in general?
Well, truth and reconciliation, right? That's being of a mindset of decolonizing your brain. And decolonizing isn't just a non-Indigenous perspective, right? Indigenous peoples as well need to break down that mindset of connecting back to that indigeneity, right? Letting go of that capitalist mindset that this is what we're here for. We're here to connecting with people, building community, making sure, as a chieftain does, going door to door, checking on the people and seeing how they are.
Midcoast Morning is part of our nonprofit newsroom project, supported by listeners like you. Keep this program on the air by funding it today with a monthly sustaining donation at chly.ca/donate. We've got tote bags and shirts if you need an incentive.
Many in the Comox Valley came together to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation with a spirit walk on Tuesday. Colleen Devlin is a retired teacher and helped organize the walk. I spoke with her after things had finished up in Lewis Park.
Hello, my name is Colleen Devlin. I am Cree and Métis from Alberta, northern Manitoba.
And you have just wrapped up what was going on here in Lewis Park to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. How do you feel it all went?
I think it went amazingly well. We're always worried about the weather here on the coast, always worried whether people will enjoy and embrace the change of the walk. And I think they did. We had about 1,500 people show up today on an iffy kind of weather day. So I'm really, really proud of the Valley for showing up.
Can you tell me, to you, what is the walk all about?
To me, the walk is all about people learning about what happened in residential schools over the 150 years, and not only learning, but then doing something about it. So at the end, my talk to the crowd was, find one act of reconciliation that you can do. Drop something off at the food bank, bake cookies for the local soup kitchen, make some donations for Indigenous projects like the Bigfoot Donuts bursary to North Island College. Any little bit helps. I also really believe in meeting people in the eye as you're walking down the street and recognizing that they might have some struggles and where they could have come from. 7 generations of harm and hurt and trauma happened to Indigenous people. It's going to take understanding, empathy, and helping us move forward together as Canadians. Like Murray Sinclair says, we're walking on this path towards reconciliation. The journey is long and hard and tough, and it's going to take all of us being together.
There were a number of orange hearts decorating the area today. You shared with me that you used to be a teacher yourself. I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about that part of things.
These orange hearts came about. There's a group back east called the First Nations Caring Society, and they have a project called Planting Hearts, Planting Dreams. So this is a riff off of that. And doing art with children is a great way for them to express themselves, a great way for adults to move around between them as they're doing their art. So you can hear about their big feelings and their thoughts about learning about residential schools. So it's kind of a therapy, I guess. So children at a number of schools in the Valley were asked to do paper hearts and express what their feelings were. So a lot of the hearts said things like, I'm walking for my grandma, or you're special, you're important because you're kind, I see you, you matter. And they were all very heartfelt, beautifully decorated hearts. They are throughout Lewis Park, and they are also up at our school board office. There is at least 1,000 hearts displayed around the Valley, and Watche Friendship Center also has their front garden full of hearts.
In 2021, I was in Nanaimo for a ceremony to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. There have been ceremonies since that time. It's now 2025. How do you think the day, people's perception of the day has maybe evolved in the years since?
Oh, I see the evolution as being tremendous. When I retired from teaching, I felt like it was such a great time to be Indigenous education because so many people get it. So many people understand. So many people are willing to start the conversation and ask what's next. What can we do next? I've seen this walk grow in numbers tremendously. As I mentioned, the estimate is about 1,500 people today. And I can see it just going forward. Logistically, because we changed parks over the last few years with construction, I thought we'd lose some people, but they keep on coming out and showing their hearts. So I think it's really important.
When you say so many people get it, what do you think are maybe some of the key foundational things or steps to getting it?
So always read, educate yourselves. In this day and age, though, that comes with a caveat of check your sources first. Make sure that they're good quality. Make sure that they're truthful. And the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has a great website to follow through. UBC has wonderful information. And actually the BCTF and First Nations Steering Committee have great information, especially for dealing with children. Many of the bookstores, Strong Nation and Nanaimo, have resources that are helpful for any age group, up to and including adults. We have stories written from sea to sea to sea, from Métis, Inuit, and First Nations people across Canada, and the effects not only of residential school, but now the 60s scoop people are coming forward and talking about their experiences. And unfortunately, families with children in foster care. That's kind of our new residential school problem. There are as many children in foster care in BC and Canada now as there ever were in the residential schools. So that's a tragedy we need to address.
I already asked you maybe what went on today, the Spirit Walk, what that means to you. More broadly speaking, what do you think the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in general, what is that all about? What does it mean to you?
To me personally, it's all about my family and our history. And as an educator, it's also very much about education, making sure that every Canadian knows the truth and every Canadian is more understanding of all peoples, all walks of life coming together. Our new Canadians, our struggling Canadians, that we are all family.
In any reporting you've seen about the day or discourse you hear about the day, are there any things you wish you heard more about?
I think I knew about this because of my family, and my mom was always very truthful with us. But so many people still come and say, I didn't know, I hadn't heard about all this. So sometimes it's not the burden of the First Nations people, the Indigenous people to teach and educate. That burden now goes to Canadians. Pick up some books, do some reading, and educate yourself. And once you know, you can never unknow. And again, just lead from your heart and be truthful and caring to others.
Colleen Devlin speaking with me following a spirit walk in the Comox Valley to mark the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. On Tuesday, I also visited the Comox Valley Art Gallery, who are currently featuring the work of 60s scoop survivor George Littlechild. Here's curator Denise Lawson.
George Littlechild lives here in this region. He has lived in this region for about 30 years. He is Cree and Celtic ancestry, and we knew that he had the show that was the central show in this exhibition, and that is Here I Am, Can You See Me? And that was really around the residential experience of his mother, Rachel Littlechild. And so we brought that here. It was a touring exhibition from the Art Gallery of Alberta. And then we wanted to expand on it. So we included work that George had done early in his career around the 60s scoop. And then also a small body of work that was related to his family, his ancestry, both his mom and dad, and going back from there, and just looking at this cross-cultural dichotomy that he lived with.
How long is the exhibit on? And if I understand correctly, there might be, beyond just checking it out if you're in the Comox Valley, some other opportunities to engage with George Littlechild and the work coming up.
So the exhibition itself will run until the 15th of November, and the gallery is open Wednesday to Saturday from 10 to 5 each day. We also do tours if people want to contact us and set aside a time when we're typically not open to the public. We can take a look at that, and if it works, we will make those arrangements. We're a public art gallery, so contemporary art gallery, so there's no charge, although donations always really helpful. And the other opportunities that you'll have if you want to meet George, he's giving a talk on November 8th at the gallery at 1:00. It's a Saturday afternoon. And he'll just walk people through the work that's on exhibition. And I would really encourage people to come out to that because he's a great storyteller. And then the other thing that we're doing in collaboration with the North Island College Fine Arts Department and their Artist Talk series is we're having the film shown of George's life. It's a documentary made by Connor McNally. And Nanikawasis is the title of the film, and it will be shown on October 4th, so it's coming up really quick, from 1 until about 4, because there's going to be the film, which is 90 minutes, and then there's going to be a Q&A with Connor and George there. And so people can get tickets online through Ticket. Just go to the gallery's website, and if you're a North Island College student, you get in for free.
Is there anything else you think it's important to know about what's going on at the Comox Valley Art Gallery as it relates to the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation?
Well, we also have in the window for the next 10 days, it was on for a couple before today, and then we'll continue, is a contribution of traditional artworks that were made by members of the community who live here, the Innu community, the Métis community, the Anishinaabe. So there's a jingle dress, a cote, a Métis sash, some moccasins that are beautifully beaded, traditional Salish shawl, a drum. So all of those represent not only Indigenous communities who are now living in this area but not from this region, as well as the Comox Nation has put in a couple of pieces as well. So that's worth coming and taking a look at. There's information about all these things on our website if people want to learn more or see the pictures if they can't make it to the gallery.
Denise, thank you so much for taking the time. Denise Lawson is curator of the Comox Valley Art Gallery. That's our show for the day. Thank you for joining me. I'm Joe Pugh, host and producer of Midcoast Morning. Jesse Woodward is our executive producer, and Arby Fruit is our technical advisor. Our theme song is First One by local Nanaimo band Waste Management. If you have a story you'd like us to cover, email us at news@chly.ca. That's all for now. I'll talk to you on another Midcoast Morning.
Midcoast Morning would not be possible without the funding of the Community Radio Fund of Canada's Radio Meters program and generous listeners like you. Support our news, current affairs, and arts and cultural programming through our nonprofit newsroom project today by making a monthly sustaining donation at chly.ca/donate. Finally, this program gives thanks to the Snuneymuxw First Nation as we broadcast and podcast from their traditional territory. Thanks for listening.